Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
So I found somebody who is helping people heal all the time for many different things. Could be insomnia. Just had a conversation this morning at 7:45 with somebody that was up all night and is having trouble sleeping. I know what it is. It's due to it's a trauma from a couple of years ago. And I said, I got somebody you need to talk to. She's going to be helpful with that. But she also helps with many other things: weight control, smoking, anxiety, hypnotherapy. She's the pro at that. She's back with us. Cindy Attar is on the program. Hey, Cindy, how are you?
Hi, Steve. I'm great. Thanks for having me again. I appreciate it.
Good to have you back here. We're on video. We're also on audio. And today we're going to change it up just a little bit. We talked about how hypnotherapy works and how it's so impactful. But we're going to get to know you a little bit more. You've written some really cool books, and today we're going to highlight one of them. I'm intrigued, kind of fascinated by this, and essentially it's crazy stories, life lessons, and mad quotes to ponder from my 125 jobs. That's the title of the book that Cindy wrote. 125 jobs, seriously?
No, now it's 137. I wrote that when I wrote that, I had retired. It was like, okay, this is retirement. I'm into, you always think that retirement means that you don't have to work anymore.
Yeah.
Well, that's for people, not me. So I ended up but I haven't worked since April of last year, other than now I'm full-time into the hypnotherapy. So I haven't had an outside job other than that.
Oh, I got you. I tell everybody I'm not retiring anytime soon. Not going to happen.
Yeah.
For obvious two reasons. It's, your job, your passion is in your blood, and I got bills, man.
Yeah.
It's great. I applaud and congratulations to everybody, especially service personnel that took early retirement or whatever it is. That's not us. So we're just gonna keep on going along there. I haven't had, I don't think in my lifetime, I don't know, maybe more than 5 jobs. I have to think about that. 1, 2, 3. I don't know, maybe more, maybe seven-ish. 100.
That's very honorable. I mean, that's how we're supposed to be. Is you're supposed to be able to hold a job. I can't say that I'm able to do that, but
Yeah, but I also, we also have to add there that it's not always or usually on us if the job doesn't continue. That's on the company. I mean, I left one job because they had cutbacks. That's the way it went. Left another job after 26 years because they made changes and just wasn't feeling right. Wasn't my thing. I just can't imagine 130 something jobs. Let's start with, before we get into the detail of them and how they impacted your life, could you rattle off some of the job titles?
Oh yeah. Well, the book actually has every job that I've had in there. So let me just read off some of them.
Sure.
Okay. I started out picking strawberries in the strawberry fields, and I've done a lot of waitress work, cocktail waitress, food waitress, bartender. Here I was a switchboard operator. I led trail rides. I did a lot of horse work. I was a UPS driver. I was a taxi driver.
Wow.
Let's see. Planted beach grass.
Okay. That's kind of
Shuttle
cool.
driver.
That's kind of a cool job. Beach grass.
That's under the categories. I didn't even know that these were jobs. Planting beach grass and sweeping up tortillas in the warehouse floor. That's all I did all day long for 8 hours, was sweep up tortillas that fell off the belt.
Wow.
That was an awful job. I did a casino.
Real.
I dealt blackjack and some other table games for several years. That was like the worst job ever, I tell you.
Was it really?
It was. For some people, that's like the best job. But my personality just didn't mix with being a blackjack dealer because I was a house dealer. So I would take everybody's money. That's what a house dealer is. They play for the house, not intentionally, but they just seem to take money more than give money.
Okay.
And the customers don't like that. So every time I'd come to a table and do the okay, nothing in my hands, then they go, oh, it's Cindy. And my personality just couldn't handle that. I don't like rejection. And so then
Mm,
I'd feel bad about myself. And then I'd deal the
wow.
cards. And then it would prove itself that I was a house dealer again. And they're like, oh, good. Is it time for you to leave yet? You know, because I
But you
just,
know, all of these jobs, a lot of them are people connected. By the way, side note, funny you should say blackjack because I have a couple of friends who just told me that there's a like sports bar not far from here, and they did a blackjack tournament. Apparently, they do it every week. And one of their friends came in second place. Didn't win the prize. The prize was a trip to Panama. Uh,
whoa.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I really don't play. I don't gamble. I don't play that much, but that one sounds interesting. But it seems that you're a very people person, and I
Yeah,
get the rejection thing. That as the house dealer, that's part of your job, but it
I
just didn't it
know.
didn't support you. It didn't support you.
Yeah, and it just made me feel awful. And you try to brush it off, but my personality just did. And I tried it several times. I swear I had probably 10 different jobs in that. And I kept thinking next time I went, oh, this one's going to be better. This is a better place. This is going to be a better situation, better
Right.
people,
Yep.
and all that. And it was the same every time because you're getting into you're dealing with somebody who has an addiction a lot of the times. And the
Mm,
common thing to say in the gambling world is, I don't have a gambling problem. I have a losing problem because they're all happy when they win.
isn't it interesting that that's what you were doing, working with people that had an addiction, gambling, and you can help people through hypnotherapy with that.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
you didn't know that you would be doing this back then.
And something about people in a casino that are gambling is they have their own set of beliefs about how things are, and don't mess with those beliefs. If they want to believe that it's the dealer that's taking their money, then
Right.
they're going to believe that. And there's nothing, you can't throw logic at them because they don't want that. Addiction is a very difficult thing to battle against.
Sure.
So
Sure.
no logic makes sense to them.
How about some of the other jobs you had?
Okay, let's see. I was in a complaint call center. I had lots of delivery jobs, delivery drivers, a few of those. I had convenience stores. I used to work at convenience stores. Um, the one of the most permanent jobs I had was I was a technical editor at a company, and that was a regular day job, full-time day job that I had stayed away from for so many years. But I tell you, it was the one that paid the bills the best. But it took every bit of my time and my daylight time, because in the daylight and in the mornings is when I love to work my horses. But if I worked a day job, I'd never work them. They'd just be out in the field and I'd feed them and I'd never hardly see them. So
Wow. Okay, so you had a goal to find jobs that supported your passion, your schedule.
yeah,
Okay.
I my animals were my passion, my horses, and I trained mules and horses, and absolutely that was it. And that's why I took all these weird jobs, is because I didn't want to work a day job. I was moving all over trying to find my farm where I could have my animals and me in the same place and afford it. So I would take these night jobs, and And then they didn't work out for one reason or another. So I'd take another one, or I'd move, or I'd go to someplace else where land was cheaper, thinking, okay, now I'll be able to, purchase land and develop it. And I finally did, but it took about 25 years to actually find that piece of land and be able to have my
Wow.
farm that I wanted. So that was
Huh.
one of the reasons why I have so many jobs.
Gotcha. Okay, well that makes sense. It wasn't,
Oh,
all right. It
good.
wasn't like you were leaving job after job because they had issues, you had issues. No, you had a goal and it had to all work. Wow.
I had
Okay.
a passion, yeah.
Out of, well, before we get to that, how about a few more jobs? I'm kind of curious. I think it's
Okay,
I've never met anybody like you.
I was a zoo tour guide, drove a big old electric bus and gave zoo rides. I, as a file clerk, I had a mule comedy act.
A what?
Me and my mule, I trained my
Ah,
mule tricks, and we actually went around a couple of places and did a comedy act. It was
wow.
4 easy steps to ride a mule, and the mule would outsmart me at each step. That wasn't really a job, that was more play, but I got
Gotcha.
it in here anyway.
Ah,
Personal assistant. I had a siding company. First, I worked for a siding company, and then I ended up running the whole place while the guy took 6 weeks off and went to Alaska. And when he got back, I decided that I could do my own and started a business and a siding company. Well, that fell flat. Um, uh, Phone psychic or chat psychic,
a
word
psychic?
processor.
A
Yeah,
psychic?
yeah,
Seriously?
yeah.
Now, all right, let's be honest. Do
What?
you have ability, psychic ability, or you just
Yeah.
they hired you just to kind of go with it?
Well, what's interesting is that when I was doing that, I didn't feel like I had psychic abilities, and there were several companies. Remember the old California psychic
Yes, they're still around.
years ago? Well,
Sure.
they wouldn't hire me because I didn't have this psychic ability. But this one company hired me because, for one thing, they knew they could tell that I was strong in connecting with people, and I had confidence in what I was saying, although I may not be totally accurate at that time. I
Hmm.
still presented in a good way, and that's all that they wanted. They didn't care about my accuracy. They wanted their customers, and they wanted their customers to believe in me, and I was able to at least do that, whether I was right, quote, right or wrong.
Wow.
Yeah,
Jeez. Huh.
yeah.
Interesting.
Let's
I will
see.
share with you. I believe in psychics. There are many really accurate ones out there. There really are. And some of them
Yeah,
are very dear friends. Some of the biggest names that you'll know in terms of the psychic world, I've worked with, actually launched their career.
really.
So, but funny story, quick pivot. Here we go. I was working at a radio station and our competition had a psychic and he was all right. But they called me, listeners called me thinking he was on my station. So just for fun, I changed my voice and gave them a reading. And this one woman, I just said, yeah, something with your toes. You got a big toe problem over there. You might want to watch that. Maybe a plantar's wart. She actually had problems with her toes. What are the chances of that? Like,
Well, maybe you are psychic. Don't
I,
dismiss that.
well,
Develop that, Steve.
they do tell me, the people that run in psychic circles, that I do have intuition, and I don't know if I do. I wish I could harness it better. I
Yeah.
think we all have some type of intuition, but wow. Okay. I want you to tell me, out of all of the 130 something jobs in your life, Cindy, outside of hypnotherapy, which we're going to talk about in just a moment, your three favorite, your three favorite jobs and why? Yeah.
Um, Training horses and mules. That still is my passion, is connecting right with the animal themselves and being able to get what I need out of them in the best way possible, in the most least traumatic way possible. I think that's always been my heart's desire. I don't have any large animals anymore since I retired. So I'm kind of out of that loop, but that was what my passion was. And that's what kept me going through all of these 137 jobs, was to be able to do at least some of that every once in a while. That's probably my favorite job.
Wow. How long were you at that one?
I did that on and off for 15 years probably, but I was moving so much. And by the time that, well, actually, no, because it was about 25 years before I found my own place. And when I found my own place, I was getting older. And my mule that I loved so dearly, she was starting to, age, and she was having some arthritis in her knees. She couldn't do some of the things that I asked her to do. And so yeah, it was probably 20, 25 years that I, on and off, that I did that. So I never was able to like finish the mule comedy act that we had. We had done it before, but by the time we got settled, then she wasn't willing to do a lot of the things that we had done before, just physically. She was getting older too. And yeah, so that was probably my best, because that was my passion. I liked driving taxi. Now as Uber, and I tried Uber around here, but it just wasn't the same, because the taxi I did in Portland, Oregon, and that was we really connected. All of us drivers were really kind of a unit, and I liked that. But there was a whole lot of politics in driving taxi in Portland, Oregon. We won't go into that whole thing, but I ended up getting blacklisted, and never, no company would hire me.
Wow. Did you like that job though? Was it really?
I really liked working with the people, working with the customers.
Well, you know what I see there? You are providing a service, a convenience. You're also personally connected with them, because just the nature of the business, they're going to talk with you. You're going to talk with them. You probably, like a hairstylist, you probably become a therapist on a couple of levels while you're driving. So yeah, I could see that might be a fit.
And it's a learning thing too, because I remember times I wanted information about something. Like that one time it was like, when horses have to go across the country, because I'm in Washington State, what if you needed a horse to go to New York? Can you fly them? And if so, is there anybody in the airplane that goes with? It's just a question like that. So what I would do is, every customer that came in that might have, like, if I picked them up from the airport or something, do you know anything about this? And I would ask people these really off the wall questions, and I found somebody who had the answer.
Wow. Yeah, I completely forgot about that. In that you are at that position, you're providing your insight. There might be people just flying in and they needed a ride, and they're, where's the best place to eat? Where's the best place for this? Where can I, find this? You would be that person, that point person. No, that's interesting. Never thought of that way. Radically different than taking people's money for the house when you're getting cards. Yeah. I could see, initially when you said that, to me, that sounds like kind of a fun job, but not so much when you look deeper.
And it is on Friday and Saturday nights, because the addicts aren't as prominent. It's mostly the people going out to have a good time on in the casino. Yep. They really do just have a good time, and they're not so wrapped up in the win-lose as the addicted ones. So the actual fun times were on the weekend nights.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. I
but
could see
the
that
rest of the time, yeah.
the two.
Mhm.
Sometimes there's events, fundraisers, and it's table games, and then that's I probably not going to have too many addicts coming to play at those. It's more of a fun, social atmosphere. And
Yes.
I got to tell you, there's a casino near me. It's only a video. So there's no table games or anything like that. I think that's how they get around it. It's run by the state in New York. It is packed all the time. And I just,
Yeah.
to what we're talking about, your point is I just look at all those cars there and some of the sadder souls that are just throwing whatever money they have away, um, just hoping for
I
something or they're addicted.
I
They're addicted.
remember one lady just begging me to give her a winning hand because she didn't want to sleep under the bridge again.
Horrible.
What do
Yeah.
you do with that? You
I know. Well, that just illustrates why that wasn't the perfect job for you. Other people could be okay with that. I
Yeah.
would say the perfect job for you is what you do in, and certainly based on knowing you and talking with you about hypnotherapy and how you have such deep insight of the subconscious and what's going on in our minds that's driving us to do these things, whether it be gambling, whether it be anxiety, depression, whatever it
Mhm.
might be. Um, would you say that that's been a game changer in your life, working in that
Yeah.
capacity?
I've always been fascinated by the human mind and why people do what they do, and
Yeah,
animals also.
sure.
But yeah, and this just takes it that much further, and just really understanding what's going on and how you can help people overcome issues, because there's so many people who want to overcome issues, but they don't know how. And so I had to learn the how so I could help them. And, I help people that want the help. Some people are okay just by living their life day to day, even if there are issues, they don't, maybe they don't think that they can get help, or, I'm not sure why people don't seek out help. Maybe it's a money issue. I don't know, but
Mm,
us hypnotherapists are here when people are ready to get help.
yeah.
We can help them.
How do
So
they do that? If they're at that point and they need help, to turn to you, just go to your website, start the conversation.
yeah, or and this is all hypnotherapists, throughout the world actually, is if you need help. Now, hypnosis is something that is the most powerful change method available. So you can do counseling, you can do other kinds of therapy, and there's all these different areas. Hypnosis is actually the most powerful. It gives you the most results in the shortest period of time. But the first step is ask anybody. Don't just keep everything in. Don't just
Mm,
shut everything down. Ask somebody for help that's in a position that can help you, not just your neighbor, or somebody who's a professional,
yeah.
because they can at least get you going in the right direction.
And they can.
Yeah.
Step one is somebody to listen, to
Yeah.
hear what's going on in your life. And from that, if somebody reaches out to you from there, you can direct them, whether you can help
Yeah.
with hypnosis. But in my journey, I've learned of so many things, including I think I shared with you, um, forgiveness. I had
Yeah.
hypnotherapy for forgiveness. Who would even
Yeah.
think, that would be something that is attainable through hypnotherapy? And it was a fluke. Somebody said something to me. I thought the practitioner specialized in it. No, that was just one of the things that they work on, but it was definitely impactful. It was impactful even though there was a Zoom issue and it only lasted about 38 minutes. It was still it still
Really.
it still did the job. And I can't
Wow.
imagine how much better it would be if I circled back to that. Cindy, how do we find you? What's your website?
Cindy Attar hypnosis.com. That's CINDYATTAR hypnosis.com. And there's a contact page. You can contact me there. There's a page on my books and all the different, books that I've written, and a lot about the hypnosis that I do and the work that I do. So
amazing. You have like amazing life. And I think it's just beginning in terms of what you're doing. Right?
It is.
And good for you.
I'm not slowing down, man. I'm just ramping up.
I feel the same exact way in my life. And, through changes, that puts you in a different path, whatever it might be. But it's like every job that you've had has shaped you for what you're doing now in terms of dealing with people, their challenges, like we talked about gambling and all that. So it's funny how life works. You never know. But start the conversation. If somebody, if you're listening or watching and going through something, there's help out there and it works. Don't be afraid. I was apprehensive about hypnotherapy until I learned that we're not controlling minds. We're helping you work with your own mind, giving you the tools for that. So website again, Cindy Attar.
CindyAttarHypnosis.com. If you do CindyAttar.com, it'll take you to the same place too.
That's
that
what I thought.
Be easier.
Gotcha. Attar. Thank you so much, Cindy. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Steve. We'll see you again.
Yep. We'll be right back.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.